Hello, YouTube. This is Mahadeva, the OG Thunder Wizard. All right, so today we're going to be talking about a message from the ancestors to the human race, the one lie that you tell yourself that blocks you from your physical healing. It's actually the one thing that blocks you from everything. Blocks you from your physical healing, from your emotional healing, from your financial healing, from your relationship healing. It's the one thing that blocks you from everything, from achieving enlightenment, from achieving becoming a perfected immortal. It's the one thing that you tell yourself. So, as simple as this is, what I'm going to share with you, it's extremely simple. It's not easy. It's extremely important to understand that you have three minds with which you interact with the world. So if you don't understand this, then at best you'll get a superficial understanding of what I'm telling you, and at worst you won't get any of it. So we have three minds that we deal with in three-dimensional reality. While our souls are implanted inside of these physical meat bags that act as avatars through which we experience virtual reality in this illusionary world we call three-dimensional reality. You have three minds. You have the conscious mind. That is the part of you that is listening to me right now, that thinks it's in control, that thinks it's making decisions. This is your conscious mind, what you are aware of. You have an unconscious mind. You have just like when you look at underneath the surface of the water and you're looking at an iceberg, the 80% that's underneath the water is really the iceberg. What's floating on the top is almost nothing. So what's floating at the top is your conscious mind. What is floating underneath, the big, giant 80% of your mind, is your unconscious. You are not aware. Everybody has it. And then you have the subconscious mind, which is at the level of the water, when the water bounces up and down on the iceberg. That's the subconscious mind, the stuff that's just under the surface that you can bring to the surface. What time of year is it? What is the date? What is your birthday? What's your social security number? Those things are in your subconscious mind. You can grab them and pull them out. What's in your unconscious mind, you don't have access to. You cannot access that because if you could, it would not be your unconscious mind. Now, the unconscious mind is created from the moment that you are born. You are unconscious. What I mean by that is you are the unconscious mind. This is why you can't remember what it was like when you were an infant. Your body might remember some stuff, but in terms of, you can't remember. But before the age of 4, you can't remember anything, really. That's because you are operating from the unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is being built. Your unconscious mind is built primarily on energetic messages. We communicate with each other mostly on the unconscious level. That's why lots of times you're around somebody and they're perfectly nice, but there's just something about them that bothers you. There's something about that person I really like. There's an energetic communication that your unconscious mind is responding to. You consciously can't figure it out. When I go to buy a surfboard, I'll research everything there is to know about the design contours and the bottom contours and what kind of, but my body always knows. when I go and I touch a surfboard and I pick it up, my body will say yes or no. Now, I continually am making mistakes. I'll buy surfboards that don't work for me because on paper, they should be the perfect board for me. But my body, my unconscious mind knows. When you're with people, your unconscious mind has an experience. Now, we then have to get into the discussion of whether or not you have unconscious projection and whether or not you dislike that person based on something about them or because of something that they stimulate within you and your unconscious. That's a whole other discussion. But regardless of whether you're accurate or inaccurate as an adult, your unconscious mind is what's doing all of the decision making for you. In fact, there are two things you can't escape. No matter how aware you are, you cannot escape your relationships and what you do for a living. Those things are determined by your unconscious mind, whether you like it or not. So from the time that you are an infant, the moment that you come in, you are being programmed on an energetic level, and you know you are clear on what the message is. You know if you are loved or not. You know what is expected of you. And your unconscious mind energetically is programmed. And if you are programmed, even from somebody's unconscious mind, they're sitting next to you and they aren't doing anything different. You know, there's four people. There's a mother and an infant, and then next to that is another mother and an infant. One of those infants can be, and both of the mothers are doing the exact same thing. They're both sitting there reading a book next to the little baby in the crib. One baby will be getting a message that in order to be a good person, they have to do this. In order to be loved, they have to do this, that, and the other thing. The other baby will be getting a different message from the unconscious of the mother, which is, you are perfect just the way you are. You don't have to do anything. But if we sit there and look at them, we won't be able to tell who's being programmed negatively and who's being programmed positively. So that programming is going on all the time, but the most important is those first 4 years. And what does that have to do with what we're talking about? Well, I've been on this planet 57 years, maybe not a long time, maybe longer than others. And what I have found within myself and watching other people, because I constantly watch other people's lives, and everybody is my teacher. Whether I like them, I don't like them, they help me, I respect them, I don't respect them, I watch them. And I watch what happens in their life over the long term. What people say, what they do, what people say, and what actually happens to them, I watch and I learn. And what I've learned is that there is no trauma, there is no victimization, there is no bad luck that was not worked for very hard by the individual. Same thing with positive. If you see somebody who's healthy, who's happy, who's successful, that didn't just happen to them. It may look like it, but it didn't just happen to them. It was the result of a lifetime of investing in something through their actions, through their beliefs, through their awareness. Same thing with people who have bad luck, bad money, bad health, bad relationships. It is a result of long-term, continuous investing in that result. The sad part is people don't understand how they ended up where they are. And it happens starts to happen the moment you're born. You begin receiving unconscious, energetic messages about who you are and your worth and what you're supposed to do. So the Ascended Masters have been showing me, and the message that I have for you is that if you can understand the one lie that you tell yourself that creates your problems, if you can understand what that lie is, then you can have everything that you want. So, as you know, I've written a book called The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. In that book, which I recommend everybody read, in fact, if you can master what's in that little book, you won't have to worry about anything else for the rest of your life. And in that book, I say there is one commandment. You know, the Bible will tell you there's 10 commandments. There's not 10 commandments. There's only one. If you follow that commandment, you will be given everything. Happiness, health, prosperity, love, luck, whatever words you want to put in there. You will have all of those things. If you disobey that commandment, you will receive poverty, illness, distress, unhappiness. On this, this is a black and white thing. You either fulfill the commandment or you disobey it. And so I teach what that one commandment is. So there's the one commandment. That if you follow that one commandment, you get everything. If you don't, you get whatever level of undesirable things in your life that come to you. So the one lie is that your value is based on what you do for fill in the blank. The one lie is that your value is determined on what you do for other people, the world, God, your spouse. Now, I know the majority of you, if not all of you, are listening to me going, oh yeah, of course, I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm aware. Well, you have this thing called an unconscious mind. So I'm telling you that if you have ill health, money problems, relationship problems, anything else in your life causing you problems, you are operating from the lie. Now, the lie goes hand in hand with disobeying the one commandment. So if you're not familiar with the book, again, this is all very simple, but it's not easy. It is all very easy to understand, but most people still don't get it. You think you get it, but you don't. And that's how you know. Are you miserable? Are you unhappy? Are you in pain? Do you have bad money? Are you in ill health? Do you have psychological, emotional problems? Then you are disobeying the command. And if you are disobeying the command, then you have bought into the lie. They go hand in hand. So the lie is that your worth, your value is based on what you do for God. I went to church as a kid, I went to church, and then in my early adulthood, I went off to become a Christian minister. And they'll tell you, it doesn't matter what church you go to, but they'll tell you that your worth is based on your obedience to God. In fact, Jehovah makes it really clear Jehovah is the biggest purveyor of the lie that there is. Jehovah says to Moses, if you love me, right there, I mean, he gives you the energetic messages that you have to love him. So he says it, before he says anything, he says, you have to love me. Then he says to Moses, if you love me, you will follow all of my commandments to the letter perfectly. So going into it, the first thing, before he even explains anything, he gives you the one lie, he slips it in there, and he says, your value is based on what you do for Jehovah, what you do for God. Now, he doesn't say, if you love me, you follow all of my commandments. But if you don't love me, you don't follow any of my commandments, right? That's the opposite of if you follow all of my commandments perfectly, you love me. The opposite of that is if you don't follow any of them, then you hate me, right? That's the polar opposite. That's not what he says. He says, if you love me, you follow all of my commandments perfectly. Then he says, if you do not follow all of my commands perfectly, then you hate me. And if you hate me, Jehovah, I will persecute you. I will curse your children for 7 generations, even though they didn't do anything. I'm still going to curse them. I am going to give you boils. And he goes into this long thing about all the punishments and the tortures he will inflict upon his own children if they don't follow every single one of his commandments perfectly. Fast forward, those of you who are born again Christians go, yeah, but that's where Jesus comes in. Jesus saved us from all of that. And Jesus was the perfect sacrifice. Well, we could talk about what the hell kind of perfect son has to do that. Let's just start there. It's still the same thing. He did it. He did it for you. But even then, you have to do one thing perfectly. And that one thing is you have to believe in Jesus. Then if you do that one thing perfectly, then you'll be saved. In other words, it's got nothing to do with you. Your value is based on... Whoops, that's not what I want. Your value is based on what you do for fill in the blank. In this case, now we're talking about Jesus. Believing on him perfectly. Your value is based on that. You don't believe in Jesus, where do you go? You go to hell. You burn. You don't just get snuffed out of existence. You get tortured for eternity. Because you didn't believe in Jesus. So the big lie is that your value is based upon what you do for God, for your parents, for your society, for your spouse, for your religion, fill in the blank. There are so many people out there that will tell you what nice people they are. But I'm such a good person. You hear that a lot. Right? That's the stereotype of, the stereotypical, Jewish responses. I'm a good person. Why is this happening to me? You just have to be a good person. That means value. It means based on your actions, what you do is your worth. Your worth is based on being a good person. And there are so many people that will tell you the story of how good they are, what a good person they are. And even some will tell you the reason I have all these problems is because I'm a good person and God will reward me in the life beyond. And I'm here to tell you it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Karma is not something that happens later. Karma happens now. And the investment that you put in to create the karma is going to create what you have in front of you. Those of you who follow my channel and have been following it for a while, then you understand the concept of weird. WYRD. Weird. Hang on, I just have to check and see what's going on here. All right, so turn that off. All right, so welcome to the channel, everybody. I see a lot of people. Here's how this works. This is a question and answer. I know that people want to, this is what happens on other channels. You just type in and put your whatever. I don't want to hear your comment. I don't need a positive or negative agreement. I want a question so that I can answer that. If you just throw out your opinion, your comment, there's a good chance I'm going to psychoanalyze you and you might not like it. I'm just giving you a heads up. Okay? Wait until you understand what it is I'm talking about, and then if you have a question, write a question. Having said that, I can't control you. You can do whatever you want, but don't say I didn't warn you. All right. So let's continue with the list here. So your value is based on what you do for. Number 2, you need to become a better person. That is a lie. That has nothing to do with spiritual evolution. It has nothing to do with enlightenment. Has nothing to do with getting good things in life. Good guys finish last. You heard that? It's true. Now, what we're going to find out is that people who follow the one commandment will also be, by nature, good people. But they won't be good people because they're choosing to be good to others. They will be good people because when you are good to yourself, you automatically are good to others. By default. You can't help it. That's why you can't become a better person. Because if you aren't following that one commandment, it won't matter what good things you do. You will be causing damage to everybody. If you're not perfect in being good to yourself, no matter what your intentions are, you are damaging to other people. So the big lie is you have to be, number 2, you have to become a better person. Number 3, your job is to relieve the suffering of others. Nobody can relieve anybody else's suffering. Can't happen. The best that can happen is somebody can create circumstances that you yourself take and use to make yourself better. That's the best that can happen. Your experience will be that person helped me. That person made my life better. But what really happened is that person created an environment in which you felt you had permission to be good to yourself. And I'll give you an example of the two sides of this. There's no shortage of people listening to me who've had relationships with people that they loved. And those people did not let you love them. And those people were miserable. And in your mind, you're like, if you just let me do this for you and you just accepted this gift I'm giving you, you could be happy. I'm giving you a job. I'm giving you $10,000. I'm loving you in your imperfections. I'm being there for you. It's, if you want to get physical, during the act of sex. I mean, you could be doing everything just right and the other person is not experiencing any sexual pleasure. That's on them. They're not allowing it for whatever reason. They can't allow it. They're afraid of it. They've got who knows what's going on. So you've already been in that position where you've tried to love people and they won't let you and their life falls apart. And you think, I could fix you if you just let me. But all that you've really done is you've created a scenario through which they could make use of that scenario to empower themselves and they choose not to do that, and they're miserable. So your job is not to relieve the suffering of others, because you can't. Your value does not come from relieving the suffering of others. If you're somebody that works to feed the poor, to house the poor, to rescue animals, you're an activist, you're whatever it is. Again, all you're doing is you're creating an environment for other people, if they choose to empower themselves. And if that makes your life better, it's because you enjoy it. You enjoy it if you truly are one of these giving people who say, I give, I'm compassionate, and you're healthy and happy and prosperous, it's because you enjoy it and you don't even need them to know anything about it. But even then, you can get lost in your mind. There might be a little Jehovah in your head saying, you better be good to other people, and then you take pride in it. You can say, see, I was a good person. And nobody cares. Unless they happen to be on the other end of that, good thing you're doing. Nobody cares. Whoops. Number 4, to be spiritual is to suffer. Flipping through YouTube, as I do all the time. And there was a person there talking about how they were having health problems. And you could tell the person was very shaken up. They were in a really bad state. And they were thanking their YouTube audience, saying, because of the level of spiritual light that's coming through me, I am having a lot of health problems because I'm trying to integrate the spiritual power that's coming through me. And I know enough to know about that person that that's not what's going on. That person's in tremendous denial, spiritualizes their psychological dysfunction, and they believe that they're suffering. You see this with the on YouTube, you'll see a lot of videos about being a super empath. And now it's a heyoka. And they'll talk about their suffering, that they're so sensitive because they're so spiritually aligned, that being in this lower vibrational world is hard on them. I used to feel like that. I used to think that about myself. And what's really happening is they're spiritualizing their big lie, which is that they are struggling with their value is based on what they do, who they are to others. That's why they're empaths. That's why they have to fix. When they walk into a room and they can sense the person who's in pain, and they must go help the homeless person, and they must go rescue 10 kittens a day. They must do it, and then they'll tell you about what a good person they are. And it's so traumatic for them to live in this lower vibrational world, and so they seek escape. And I'm not here for myself, and they're carrying their cross, just like Jesus did. He carried his cross, which is, the phrase "carry your cross" is, Jesus was forced. The mythical Jesus was forced to carry the cross that they were going to nail him to up the hill. He had to carry it himself. And so that became something good. I'm just carrying my cross. Just put my cross over my shoulder and I carry it through life. I'm a good spiritual soldier. So you're taking with you your own method of self-destruction. That you are bringing your self-destruction with you, and you want to be given some kind of medal for that. Congratulations, you've been destroying yourself this whole time. You've been carrying your own cross. What a good person you are. Whoops, I keep doing that. Number 5, selfishness hurts others. So you've been taught that in order to be a good person, you must be unselfish. You know, people give me a hard time because I've taken the spiritual name Mahadeva. Mahadeva is one of the names of Shiva, and it means the great God. Actually, it means the great light, because Deva means God, but it also means divine light. People say, how can you take that name on? Well, those are people who don't know Hindu culture, because there are a bunch of little kids in India that are called Mahadeva all the time. Parents name their kids after Shiva all the time. But they get upset with me, and I know automatically when somebody says, you know, how can you take that name for yourself? Don't you know that's only for Shiva, and Shiva is the one great God and you're not it? I already know that that person doesn't believe that they have the right to honor themselves. That person believes that humility is spiritual. So they take on this mantle of humility. And it's ironic that they're shaming somebody else because of their projection on them. That's their projection. When people say that to me, how dare you take that name? You're not that. I already know. I know exactly. I know that's their projection. I know that they believe that to be spiritual is to suffer. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those that weep and wail, for they shall be rewarded from on high. It's a big lie. To be selfish is the most selfless thing you can do. Now, there's a difference between being narcissistically selfish, which really isn't. So let me destroy a myth about narcissists. You think that narcissists are only interested in themselves. Actually, that's the opposite. Narcissists are completely interested in you. They want to know what you think about them. They are all about getting you to love them, worship them, fear them. Everything they do is based on you. Now, they may torture you, they may use you, they may, whatever it is that they do, they may deceive you. Whatever it is that they're doing to fulfill their big lie, which is that they don't have any worth unless the rest of the world either loves them, hates them, fears them, whatever. They never do anything for themselves. They don't have the first clue who they are or what they want. So that is not selfishness. That is no different. I want you to listen to me. That is no different. The narcissist who uses, abuses, deceives others for their own gain is literally, energetically no different than the person who carries their cross, sacrifices themselves, and takes on all of the wounded kittens and feeds all of the poor. There is no difference. They are both doing that for other people. God's love, God's approval, your approval. Because the truly unselfish person knows one thing. Your life is your business. Your life is your karma. It's not my business to get into your life. Now, if you ask for my help, that's different. But you carrying your cross into the flaming house to destroy yourself, it's not my job to stop you. It's my job to stop myself from doing that to myself. And by doing that, I am unselfishly, assuming that I do that, you do that. If you do that, you are unselfishly showing through example what other people can do to save themselves. But you don't think about that. You're only thinking about following the one commandment, which is to follow your deepest joy, no matter what anybody or anything does to try and stop you. That's the one commandment. When you do that, and you do that fearlessly and thoroughly selfishly for your own selfish spiritual evolution, every single other being in the universe benefits. Because the other lie, which is not really a lie, it's just part of being in three-dimensional reality, is that you are separate from everything. And that is a lie. You are connected to everything. Science knows this. Physics says that there's this quantum connection, that what happens in one place is happening someplace else. That the matter that is infused in the whole universe is all connected. What you do affects everything and everybody everywhere. When you act on your dysfunction, you are influencing everybody else to act on their dysfunction. When you act on your best, happiest, truest experience, everybody else is being stimulated to do that. Now, whether they choose to follow that or not is their business. But the lie is that you're separate. You're not separate. So your selfishness helps other people. And again, you need to know the difference between true selfishness and false selfishness, which would be narcissism. Narcissism is not true selfishness. It's actually quite the opposite. Your happiness comes second. The only time that's true is when you have children. When you have little infants, their happiness comes first. You chose to have kids. I personally think that the only people who are qualified to have kids, probably 2% of the whole population. The other 98%, in my belief, are not qualified to have kids because they don't have the ability to be objective enough to not train their kids to be like them. Which, you know. So I guess I'm saying 2% of the population, I'm just throwing out an arbitrary, I don't know. A very small percentage of people are able to actually be good parents. So, let's take a look at the big lie list here again. Your value is based on what you do for God, for the world, for others, for your spouse, for your parents. You know, again, I'll share with you the one biblical passage that I think is worth listening to. And that's Jesus was walking through a village in Galilee, and a man comes running out of his home, and he says, "Master, Master, I want to follow you. Just let me bury my parents." And Jesus says, "Let the dead bury themselves. If you aren't willing to betray mother, father, sister, brother, you're not worthy of me." And at which the man hung his head and went back in to his home because he knew that he wasn't worthy. Now, on the surface, again, that looks like a very superficial sort of thing, but you have to understand traditional Jewish culture, especially 2,000 years ago when this supposedly happened, which of course it didn't. But 2,000 years ago, when somebody dies, they don't go to the embalmer, where they, you know, when you have a funeral, they take the body to the embalmer and they put a bunch of chemicals in the body so it won't rot. That's why, you know, you can, a week later, 2 weeks later, you're looking at this body that it's not rotting. It's because they filled it with formaldehyde and whatever else. But 2,000 years ago, that didn't happen. Bodies started rotting immediately in the hot Middle Eastern sun. And so if you didn't bury, because they didn't burn their dead, if you didn't bury your parents within 24 hours, your parents, whom you were supposed to worship as gods, were going to start to stink. They're going to start looking bad. They're going to start burping. They're going to start smelling, and that's very disrespectful. So for that guy to have walked away from and let his parents' bodies just sit in their home and rot, for him not to do his job as a son and take care of his parents' bodies like that, he was the worst person. In other words, he would have looked very bad to other people, and he would have felt bad because his parents had been telling him his whole life, that's what you do. He watched his parents do it with their parents. So he has to at least appease the Jehovah in his head, the dead parents in his head, and of course all the other people who have to smell the dead body. They're all going to be judging him. And he can't tolerate the thought of their looking down on him for selfish reasons, because he says selfishly, Master, Master, I want to follow you. I want spiritual enlightenment. I want to be happy. I want blissful fulfillment, and I know you have it. And he says, you want that? Great. Let your parents' bodies rot. They're dead. Let's go. Who cares what they think and what everybody else thinks? If you're not willing to sacrifice other people's opinions for you for what your soul wants, you're not worthy of this path. You can't do it. You can't do both. You can't please other people and please your soul. You can't do it. Your happiness comes second. Nope, your happiness comes first. People say, what if I have kids? Well, who told you were supposed to have kids? Who told you that you were supposed to have kids before you found your happiness? Nobody forced you to do that. You did that, especially now. We have things called condoms and birth control. You have every power to prevent yourself from having kids. You don't understand. Oh, I totally understand. People have kids all the time because they want their kids to love them. They want somebody to love them unconditionally, so they have kids because babies can't help but love you. Oh my God, those poor kids. Your happiness has to come first. All right, so those are my arbitrary 6 things. Your value is based on what you do for other people. That is a lie. For God, for the universe, for anything other than yourself, if whatever you do that is not for your own personal empowerment brings you no value. Now let me be clear. It might bring you value temporarily to somebody. There might be a transactional value. If you're a house painter, somebody pays you X amount of money to paint their house, you have value to them to the extent that you do what they want, but your essence has no value. You only have value to them in the capacity of you doing whatever job it is that you do. But your essence has no value, better or worse. The only value of painting somebody's house, the only value in that is if you make money to pay your bills and do your life and do your thing. Of course, if you do a good job, that raises your reputation, which gives you more opportunity to make more money. But your essence is not changed because you painted somebody's house. Your essence, the value of who you are, is not changed because of anything anybody thinks or doesn't think about you. The only place that you will be able to verify your value is within yourself. And if the moment people are not around to value you, if your value disappears, it means you don't value yourself. And this all sounds very superficial and easy, and you're all nodding your head, and yet how many of you live in pain, have chronic physical pain, you have illness, you have poverty, you have chaos in your life, you have dysfunctional relationships? You can sit there and nod your head all day long. Oh yeah, my worth comes from within, and yet you got all this garbage in your life. There's something you're not seeing. There's something you're choosing not to look at. We all go through this. We want other people's love, and we need other people's love and approval more than we need a connection to ourselves. So the thing is, how does that knowledge help you? It may not. That knowledge of knowing what the big lie is may not be enough. I can only tell you what works for me. What works for me is I cheat. I cheat. Now, there's all kinds of ways to cheat. I've found the way that works for me. That's this thing up here. If I push levers in my physical body by doing certain certain movements, whether it's yoga, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's, I don't care what it is. All these things, yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, all those physical, spiritual things. You're pulling levers on your physical body to open up meridians within you so that you can experience what's locked inside your body. One of the things I've been watching my whole life is people who end up with chronic age-related illnesses. And in every single one of those cases, when I look at their whole life, if I've known them a long time, I find out their chronic physical illness, whether it's chronic pain, whether it's, those illnesses like fibromyalgia where the doctors don't really know what causes it. We think it might be stress related, to things like cancer, heart disease, other things like that. And in my life, when I had similar things going on with me, every single time I look at that, if I look hard enough, I'm going to find they are somewhere inside of them holding on to a conflict. And it has been shoved down and pushed into their body, and their body is exhibiting the conflict. The conflict is always centered around a theme. And the conflict is you want to do something, but other people want you to do something else, and so you do the something else. What's her name? Mother Teresa, right? People use her. She's an icon. Oh, you're Mother Teresa, meaning that you're so good you give to others. Mother Teresa, as it turns out, suffered from chronic depression and was abusive. There was nothing that she was based on that, if that's true. I didn't know her, but if that's true, there was nothing spiritual about what she was doing. She wasn't doing anything for herself. That's why she was so miserable. She said things like, how can there be a God when there's starvation in the world? So she wasn't helping starving people, if that's what her feeling was. She wasn't helping starving people to help them. She was helping starving people because them being starving made her feel alone in the universe. And so she was trying to shut them up by giving them food so that she wouldn't feel so alone. So she wouldn't feel like God wasn't there. All right? So, I don't know what I've said, but I'm happy to take questions. Again, I want your questions. I'm not interested in your thoughts. Let me see. But bear in mind, if you do that, let's go to the questions first. No, I don't see any questions here. No. How many people we got on here? I can't see here. 33 people. All right. I wasn't getting. Let me finish how I do it before I move on. I went surfing yesterday, so I'm a little tired. So I cheat. As I said, knowing that these big lies are causing you whatever it is in your life that's not working for you. Your health, your finances, your love life, your psychological functioning. These lies are what are blocking you from everything that's perfect. Knowing that won't fix the problem. What fixes the problem is taking actions that actually take the conflicts out of your body or out of your aura or out of your external life. They have to be dislodged. The blocks in you have to be dislodged. And people have the wrong understanding about what spiritual happiness, spiritual peace, spiritual evolution. Somebody asked me a while back, they may be on the channel. If so, I'm using what you said because you're not the only person that has this feeling. Somebody said to me, asked me in one of these live Q&As, asked me, can I find that peace if I am in chronic pain? The assumption of that question is, I just want to feel good. I don't want to change anything, and or I can't change anything, and or I don't know what I'm supposed to change. I just want a feeling. So if I do this, will I have that? Will I feel good, even though I've got all this stuff? And then we got into a big discussion about what chronic pain is. But the assumption of that is that you can be downloaded, that you can download spiritual awareness. You can download spiritual evolution. You can just do that and you'll shift. It's like the Matrix. If you take whichever one it is, the red pill, if you take the red pill, you'll be woke. Just take the pill. Just choose to believe this. Just accept Jesus. It's all the same thing. And that assumption is inaccurate. It's not how it works. The perfection is within you. It's already within you. You're blocked from it. The thing to do is how to unlock that perfection. Now, you live in a physical world. You don't live in an intellectual, spiritual world. Your freedom will not come from simply adopting a certain belief or meditating or anything like that, although I teach all those things. What has to happen is you must align yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally with your true path, which is a path of action. You say, what is it? Tell me what the action is. I don't know what the action is. I'm not you. The one thing I know is that your aligned, perfect path of action is a path where you follow your most inner selfish desires. Your deepest inner selfish desires, you act on them. Not think about them, not believe them. That is meaningless. Your intellectual understanding, meaningless. The only thing that matters is once you become aware, which everybody is, there's a part of you, if you can get through the unconscious blocks, there's a part of you that knows exactly what it is you want, who you are, and what you want to do. I almost said it. Not who you're supposed to be, because that's what somebody else wants. People say, if I could just find out what God's will for me is. They want to know what somebody else thinks they should do. Tell me what it is to be a good person and I'll do it. Nobody can tell you that. Nobody can tell you how to be a good person. Nobody can teach you. You must discover what it is that makes you the most happy, and you must do that. If you do not do that, you will create a block within you that will be lodged in your physical body and or your aura and or your external life, or all three. And if you act in accordance with what you truly want, you will be acting completely contrary to the big lie. So remember, as I said, when you disobey the one commandment, you automatically take on the big lie. They're connected. You can't have one without the other. When you do what your selfish inner desire is, you will be doing opposite of the lie. And then all of these things will start to unravel. Now, as I said, me telling you that isn't enough. You won't be able to figure that out. You won't be able to do it. There's a lot of people that they've been following me for years and they still don't know what they want. They say, I don't know what my soul desire is. For some people, that's because they think too much and there's other things going on, but it's not easy. You can't, you have to, you got to have help. I cheated. I figured out a way to cheat. The way I did it is through my physical body. I do these practices here that you see me teaching, this is just one. And every time that I do these movements, I am stimulating energy meridians that go directly to where my soul sits. My soul sits, and yours too, sits in the heart. You see me doing this thing right there? That I'm stimulating the energy in the physical body, which is connecting directly to the heart. What is going to happen is that is going to stimulate the energy that surrounds my soul that knows what it is I want to do. And when I stimulate that, the blocks that have come from the big lie that was given to me when I was an infant, the programming that was done to me as an infant through childhood, that programming is blocked. It's like blocked around your heart. By doing those movements, I start to release that block, and two things happen. Sometimes they happen simultaneously, which is, one is that you become aware of all of the pain that you've been trying to run away from. Your insecurity, your feeling of loneliness, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you didn't do this, mommy didn't love you, the world is evil, you're supposed to be a good Christian, you're a good person, you're supposed to sacrifice for whatever the hell it is. You're going to become aware of all that, and all those feelings are going to start flooding your brain. And then simultaneously, you're going to start to feel more love, and you're going to start to become aware of what you want, and then you're going to experience the conflict. Now, some people won't. Some people will just magically feel beautiful and everything will come together. For some people, the conflict is so intense that they end up stop doing the work because they can't tolerate the conflict. So they go back to doing the big lie. They stay with the partner that's not loving. They stay with the dysfunctional parents. They stay in the crappy job. They continue to try and become a good person. It's a long process. And some people, they, like me, they do it, they back off, they do it, they back off. But I cheat. And when you are able to burn through the blocks that surround your heart, when you're able to burn through them, then the energy that is locked within you and the energy that is in the universe now has a pathway to go into all of your meridians, into all of the cells of your body, into your mind, into your life, into your aura, so that the money will come to you, the love, the sex, the whatever the hell it is that you want. It'll come to you. And you will be guided. You will seemingly be guided by, a force you don't understand. People will say, everything seems to work out for that guy. He's like, yeah, it seems like everything works out for me. No, what's happening is that person is on a daily basis investing and taking action on what they want. And over time, that builds up into a scenario where the universe seems to be doing everything for them. But they're the ones that are following their desires. When they wake up in the morning, they say, what do I want? What do I want? I want that. I don't want that. I need to get out of this. I need to move towards that. It just seems like normal everyday stuff. And the people who have garbage in their life, they have physical ailments, they have psychological dysfunction, they have poverty in their life they can't seem to overcome. It's because you're taking actions towards things that your soul doesn't want. None of this has anything to do with being a good person. There is no value in being a good person. There is no value in being a righteous person. There's zero value in it for you. It doesn't change your essence because you are already everything. Your soul is as valuable and as perfect as anything can get. Your soul is God. You can't change the value of your essence. The only thing that you can do and the only thing that matters is taking the actions to let that essence live and experience this three-dimensional reality. That's it. To the extent that you don't let your soul experience three-dimensional reality, you are operating from the big lie and you are causing conflict which will block you and create misery and poverty and everything else. So I cheat. That's all that is. I happen to like physical energy power. I like the idea of power. I like the idea of feeling high off of energy. I like that. So on a selfish note, I chase after that. I do these things so that it'll feel good, so that I will get high off of it. Now that's the carrot that dangles in front of me. As I'm chasing after that carrot, I am opening up all of the meridians, especially the one that surrounds my soul. And my soul is now able to interact with me on a conscious level to a larger degree, which means that I will become aware of painful blocks within me. I'll have to face the question of the big lie, and I'll have to act contrary to the big lie. I'll have to take action towards what I want. And when I do that, I open up the meridians even more, and the energy flows, and the universe flows through me, and here I am, 57 years of age. And I've got all the money I want. I live exactly where I want. I mean, I have happy. This burst of joy comes through me because I have everything that I want. It's just. And it's seemingly like, people say, when I tell them what I do, they go, my God, how did you just, the universe just gives you, and I said, no, I work really hard for it. Really, how? I constantly ask myself what I want from one moment to the next. And if it feels like it's going to kill me, I do it anyway. All right. I'm happy to take questions if there are any. Again, I'm interested in your questions. I'm not interested in whatever else you have to say. If what you say is something I think other people will benefit from, I will potentially analyze it. But let's see, I don't see any questions. Here's one at the very bottom. Christina Boyer question, does being a good person as not causing suffering in others has a link with karma, so it's kind of important? No, that's part of the big lie. Let's look at the list again. Your value is based on what you do. You say being a good person as not causing suffering in others. What do you mean not causing suffering? How do you not do something? You're either causing suffering or you're not. So how can you, like when you want to become an actor and you're not believable, the director will say, what is your motivation here? And if the actor says, well, my motivation is to not piss them off, the director will say, you can't play a negative. Okay, well, my motivation is then to make them love me. There you go. Now you've got a motivation. Go play that. You can't play, I don't want them pissed at me. So you can't live your life based on not causing something. But it's still the same thing. You're still saying that being a good person, not causing suffering, you think that has some value. And it doesn't. The only way to not cause suffering is to not cause suffering to yourself. That's it. We are all linked. When you do the thing that makes you the happiest, that brings you the greatest fulfillment and happiness in your life, Everything else in the universe vibrates on that and is benefited. Now, they may get angry at you. Your spouse may stand in front of you and say, "What the hell are you doing that for? You're supposed to cook me dinner right now. Why are you doing that?" And you're like, "This is what makes me happy." "Well, you took a vow. You're supposed to be a good wife." In other words, your value to me is what you do. And you realize that's not my value. Well, he's being stimulated because he's following the big lie, which is coming out in his narcissism, and you're disrupting that by you following your truth. So you can't not do something. You say it has a link with karma, so it's kind of important. You don't know, forgive me for saying so, but you don't know what karma is. You think karma is something bad. You think karma is when you cause suffering, then you're going to get punished with karma. The only karma that exists is the negative self karma you do by not following your desires. When you act against your innate soul desires, you cause damage to yourself. That damage will then be visited upon you. You think if you cause suffering to somebody else, that then you're going to be punished for what you did to somebody else. You also think that about others too. You think if somebody does you wrong, they're going to be punished for whatever wrong you think they did to you. And the universe doesn't work like that. Hitler is only going to be punished for the damage he did to himself. He won't be punished for any of the damage he did to others. Gandhi is only going to receive the positive karma for following his truth, not because he was the non-violent guru who freed India from the British. Your karma is something that you create. Karma means work. Kali is surrounded by severed arms. It means karma. It means that she's relieving people of their karma, their actions. Your actions include your thoughts and not your thoughts. They include your assumptions and your beliefs. Those are actions. So your belief that your job is to not cause other people suffering. And look at the selfishness of it. Forgive me for saying so, but look at how narcissistic that is. You're trying to not cause suffering to others because you don't want any negative karma coming on you. You're not even thinking about them. If you are thinking about them, what will happen is it will make you feel joyful when you give love to something. Why do we pet cats? Why do we play balls with dogs? Throw balls around. Why do we do that? It's fun. We like seeing them happy. It's fun, and it's fun for us. And we pet them. They love it. They just sit there and they get petted. They don't have hands. They can't pet us back. They'll try and lick us, but we're just sitting there the whole time giving something to another being, and they're just soaking it up. But it feels good. It feels good to make them happy. We do it because we like it. So you think karma is going to come because of something you did for others. That means you believe your value is dependent on what you do for other people. So you think your value is diminished by not doing things. So no, being a good person as not causing suffering in others does not have a link to karma, and it is not important. It is damaging. Every time you live your life based on the belief of not causing other people damage, you are damaging them. Passive aggressive. You know the word passive aggressive. Passive aggressive is when people are angry, they pretend to be helpful. They put a smile on their face. They'll say, "Let me help you with that." It's passive aggressive. They give other people unsolicited advice under the guise of being good and helpful. They're full of rage, and it's damaging. So no, I disagree with that. Somebody says you haven't mentioned Kabbalah. Is there anything to it? Did I say, is there anything in my title that says anything about Kabbalah? I haven't mentioned a bunch of other things. I haven't mentioned Italian cooking. I haven't mentioned how to build a fence. I didn't mention Kabbalah. Take your narcissism out of this. I'm talking about a subject. So if you can listen to the subject I'm talking about and come up with something, then you can go home and decide if it's connected to Kabbalah or not. All right? So that's like, again, you go into somebody else's classroom and it's a cooking classroom and you have a question about electronics. I was just over at the electronics department and there was a question on the quiz about the electronics, and I had a question and they're like, this is a cooking class. You have a question about cooking? All right. So Christina Boyer thanks me. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. You can go check out his website if you want. See what he has on tap. He's one of my students. So again, I don't see any questions here. So when you guys aren't asking questions, then I got to entertain you. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this for a second. If you have a question, I'm happy to take it. So the 90-day challenge, if you go to thunderwizard.com, click around for Warrior 90-day challenge. I am actually leading people in this very thing. You can click play on the videos there and you can follow along with me. You don't have to figure anything out. You don't have to understand any of it. If you do the physical practices, it will stimulate all kinds of things. You will then be given an opportunity to become aware of what's going on with you, to release, to accept. You'll be able to know what your conflicts are, and you'll be given an opportunity to work through them. And I'm getting a lot of feedback from it. People telling me that the physical ailments, diseases, pains are vanishing. And they're vanishing for the reasons that I explained to you. Those physical ailments and those pains are things that are stuck in your physical body as a result of the conflict of your soul saying, hey, I want to be a ballerina, and your parents saying, no, you're supposed to be a football player. So you're off being a football player when what you want to be is a ballerina. So when you become aware of that, then you'll have a lot of uncomfortable feelings perhaps, but your body will heal. So a lot of you doing the 90 days thing, you know what I'm talking about. You're having a lot of feelings about a lot of things, but what's going on with your physical body? You're healthier, you're sleeping better, you have less physical pain, right? So the good news is that you can work through the conflict and get to a place of resolving it and being more comfortable, and then you can have the joy and the bliss that comes with following your true soul. All right, what else? Let's see, there's other stuff that I want to share with you here, which is, where is that? I don't know where that is. What is this? What do I got here? Let's see what this is. That's nothing. Okay. Anything else that I want to? Because there's no questions, so. Nope. All right. As I said, I'm kind of tired today. I went surfing yesterday. That's my soul desire. By the way, if you think that I'm doing this because I've dedicated myself to being a spiritual warrior and a teacher, I haven't. My entire focus of my life is to surf. That's it. To surf in beautiful semi-tropical conditions, empty, beautiful beaches with rainforest, and I'm doing that. So everything I do in my life is based on that. Now, in order to be able to do that, I have to make a living. So I've also made the decision that I'm never going to do anything for a living that isn't something that I would do anyway. I would sit in front of YouTube and I would blab about all this stuff and I would teach these things to people not because I'm dedicated to healing the world, it's because I can't not talk about this stuff. I have to talk about it. I have to write books to be sane. I have to share these concepts. I have to share it with those who are willing to listen because it keeps me sane, not because I'm trying to be a good person. If it were up to me, I would be more than happy to never talk to anybody ever again, make videos ever again, just lie on the beach and surf. And I would do that. If that came to me, I would do it. So I do this to make the money to live the life. And I have no attachment to it. I swear to you, I don't care if you guys think I'm a spiritual genius or if you think I'm a nutbag. I don't care what you think. And because I don't care, a lot of people are telling me how much it's saving their life. And guess what? I that makes me feel good, but I honestly don't care. I'm all about doing my own thing. It doesn't mean that I don't have compassion. It doesn't mean that I don't want the best for everybody, but that's your business. It's not my business, it's your business. So I do this just because I would do it anyway. See what I mean? Stop trying to be something for somebody. Stop trying to be anything for anybody. It doesn't accomplish anything. I'm saying this because I'm watching people die. I'm getting to that age where people are starting to die. And people who shouldn't, there's no reason for them to be having age-related illnesses and other things and dying. And I look at them and I watch and I realize they're still living the big lie. Some of them are really aware, conscious, but they're still living the big lie. They're still trying to please something or somebody. They're trying to, fix the world because they still want mom to love them. Mom's been dead for 20 years, but they still want to get mom's approval. So they sacrifice and they carry their cross and they're wonderful and everything, but they're dying of horrible diseases. That's why I started making this video today. And this is my fumbling attempt at trying to help you understand, that as I see it, I'm perfectly willing to change my mind. I might change my mind. If something can come along that will talk me out of this belief, I have no attachment to it. I don't care if I'm right or wrong about anything. But based on what I've seen, all dysfunction, whether it be physical, emotional, psychological, financial, interpersonal, all of it is boiled down to the desire to be loved and appreciated and valued based on what you do. And whenever somebody feels as though they must sacrifice their own desires for something or someone else, it always ends up bad. They always end up either in pain, poor, sick, lonely, or all of them. And we all do it. It's just a human thing. We get so attached to this need, the narcissism of needing to be loved based on what you do. All of the people who pretend to be good people, even people who sacrifice themselves for others and end up, miserable in some way or other, they're narcissists. They're doing it for their own self-aggrandizement. Even if it's just the thought in their head of, I'm a good person. I'm a spiritual person. Like when people get mad at me because I've taken on the name Mahadeva. How dare you take on that name? You're not God. You're not Shiva. How dare you call yourself that? That's their projection. That's how they feel about themselves. I take on the name Mahadeva because that's what I want. I want to be that. And I believe that I am that. As you are. I believe that that is the essence of who I am, is Mahadeva. And I believe that is true about you. It doesn't mean that I narcissistically think that I'm walking around that I want people to worship me. I could care less. I don't want any of that. In fact, they don't want that. If you'll notice when people leave compliments, on the videos, you'll notice that I don't respond to those as much. That's my false humility. It's because I'm not comfortable with it. I don't want the compliments. I don't need that. Anyway, so here comes a question. So Bobby Simpson, again, what I said earlier, is there anything in the title of this video that has anything to do with alternating genders throughout reincarnations? I want to hear a question about this subject. Welcome to the channel if you're new. But again, you don't walk into a cooking class and come in with a question about electronics. Stay with the subject. You're going to be tested on it later. Christina Boyer has another question. Does the economic system, what is the economic system? So there's only one? There's like one God, one economic system, there's one political system, there's the elite, there's the media. Let me finish her question before I get too annoying here. Does the economic system is actually destroying Earth? Okay, is that a question or is that a statement? Does the economic system is actually destroying Earth, so we are responsible to remove it, free humanity, animals? All right, so first off, that's not a question. A question is, you have a question that you think I have the answer to. So when you're introducing an assumption, you're not trying to get an answer from me. You're trying to get me to buy into your thinking. And you're not gonna force feed me your assumptions. So if I'm reading this correctly, your assumption is the economic system is actually destroying the Earth. And that's an assumption. So on this channel, we don't do victim mentality. So you've just told me the assumption is we are all victims of the economic system. That is a way to stay in the big lie. You've now bought into the idea you're a victim. And you're going to find ways to victimize yourself. Here's an Australian $20 bill. It feels like Monopoly money to me because it's made out of plastic. American dollars are different. So to me, this doesn't have any value. But in reality, it doesn't have any value. I can throw this down and I can get something in return. I haven't given them anything. I've given them this plastic thing. The only value this has is if you and I agree. If I take this into the United States and I give them the $20, they're going to go, this is worthless. Because in the United States, you agree. One person says a $20 American bill can buy you this amount of things. But it doesn't get you anything. You haven't done anything for it. You've given them a piece of paper. It's arbitrary. It's an intellectual assumption. It is a shared belief. If we both agree that this is worth $20 and that dollars means something, then that agreement, think about it. People go and they spend all this money building houses, and what do you give them for building a house? You give them this. Maybe you give them a big stack of that, a big stack of paper. Or more than that, just some numbers on your computer screen. There is no economy. There is no economic system. The economic system isn't destroying anything. People are. This is an excuse. This is nothing. This is why I don't worry about money. I don't think about it. I worry about if I end up running into money issues, I go, I'm not following my joy. Because if I follow my joy, I'll start creating things like the Mao Shan thing. I just created that. I created that because I was like, I'm not doing something. And so I thought about, what is it that I really want to do? Well, I really want to teach this. So I started teaching that, and boom, my money situation changed. You think they're doing it to you. They're not. So first off, don't shove your assumption down my throat. Because that's your belief. If you want to believe that the economic system is doing it to you, I can't stop you. But I know for a fact it's not, because if this were real, then what happens when there's again, you go to a tribe in the Amazon, you give them this, they won't even be able to use it for paper. They won't even be able to burn it because it's made out of plastic. They won't even be able to wipe their ass with it because it's not absorbent. It has no value. There is no economic system. Do you want to be freed of that? Do you want to not have to worry about any of that other garbage out there? So we are responsible to remove it. Again, that's an assumption. So because you believe the government is doing something to you, the economic system is doing something to you, then you also now think it's your responsibility to remove it, to free humanity and animals. When did that become your responsibility to free humanity? Are you that powerful? Are you God? That you are the one that must swoop down with your self-righteous indignation and condemnation of the economic system? Look, let's cut the bullshit, Christina. I love you. I have nothing against you. I'm going to tell you the truth. Let's cut the bullshit. None of what you said has anything to do with anybody else. What you just said there was that you feel they're doing it to you and you want them to stop. You're going to justify that by saying that you are freeing humanity and animals. You say, I love Earth so much and I want it healthy. That is what's called projection. So psychological projection is when we project onto things outside of us our own feelings about ourselves. But you're not allowed. The big lie says you're not supposed to be selfish, Christina. The big lie says you're supposed to be selfless. And if you're selfless, then I'll approve of you. So you've taken on this false spirituality where you say, I just love the earth and I want to free it. That's why the economic system, but let's face it, the economic system means that you don't have the money you want. You feel you are being destroyed like the animals. You feel trapped because you see humanity needs to be free. I'm humanity. I don't need freeing. I am not trapped. I have never had more freedom in my life. It doesn't matter what country I'm in. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. My soul gives me everything I want. I don't care about the economic system. So how is it that if I'm part of humanity, how is it I don't need you to free me? It's because you need to be freed. It's projection. You feel trapped. You want to be freed. So let's cut the bullshit. Your question in there is, how can I free myself? But you're trying to do it by helping others. That's called codependence. Codependence means you get your worth based on what you do for other people. So you think you're talking spirituality, and unfortunately, without any judgment, I hear narcissism. And I feel bad for you. I want you to be happy. I want you to feel empowered. I don't want you to feel trapped by the system. So this is one of the reasons that I do all this for, so that you won't have to feel that. So you're not asking me a question, you're trying to get me to buy into your way of thinking, and I don't. Now, you can think whatever you want. I don't need you to believe me or not believe me, but since you asked, that's my take on it. Capitalism. What difference does it make? Capitalism is no better or worse than anything else. It's all arbitrary. It's all an illusion. Communism, capitalism. It's all nonsense. There are people in capitalist countries who have great lives, and there are people in capitalist countries that have crappy lives. There are people in communist countries that have crappy lives, and people in communist countries who have great lives. The only thing that they have in common is the shared agreement of what it all means. If you really want to rebel, you don't, I use money. Because in this country, if I want food, I got to give them this stuff. So I use it. It doesn't mean anything to me. If I'm in the United States, I use that, or I use these things. This is supposed to mean something. I run that through a little thing, and it's supposed to mean it takes numbers from one thing and puts it in. I don't fucking care. I live somewhere. I go and I live among the natives of the tribe of whatever, and they're going to give me. If I give them a bunch of shells, they're going to give me food. If I cut down a tree then they'll give me a pig. It doesn't matter. There's corruption in everything, and there's beauty in everything. You must go beyond all of these limitations. Actually, you don't have to do anything. I choose to go beyond all. I don't care about any of that stuff. What else? She says, it's something blocking me on the selfishness path. I don't know what that means. I am sorry. You don't have to be sorry. You don't have to feel bad for being programmed in whatever your thinking is. I am the same as you, so I'm not judging you. This is just how I do it. What do you think about this belief I have that's blocking me? I don't know what your belief is that's blocking you. All I know is, based on my experience and my observation, is that your soul wants to experience something. And for some reason that only you can figure out, you are deciding to do something for somebody else. Right now, you talk about destroying the system and freeing the animals, and you think that's what you're supposed to do to have worth. Now, that's hiding something else, as I said. That's actually a narcissistic projection of you're not free, you're not loved, you're like those helpless animals, nobody loves you. All that stuff. You love the earth so much, it means you want to be loved. The love that you have for the earth is what you want somebody to give to you. You want the universe, you want the earth, somebody to give that love back to you. You feel unloved. So what it is, I don't know. So Christina Boyer, that's why we have on this channel, go on my channel and look for these videos. Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. Go watch those videos. If you don't know how to do that, I'll tell you how to do that. You go on to the playlists in my channel. If you know how to search within a channel, when you go onto somebody's YouTube channel, you'll see, in fact, I can look at mine right now. What is my YouTube channel? Anyway, you see like about and videos, and then you see a magnifying glass. You click on the magnifying glass, a search bar comes up. Type in, the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. I don't know what your block is, but you can figure it out if you're willing to look at all of these things we're talking about. Christina Boyer, I don't care about money. I don't believe you. I care about the biodiversity. And money is destroying because of people. Money isn't destroying anything. If you get rid of money, you think that somehow biodiversity will be back. You think that people will change if you get rid of money. Money is a symbol. It means nothing. People are people. What you equate money with is your version of selfishness. You see other people as selfish, and you've used money as the object, and you think if you can get rid of money that people will magically become good. You remind me of the anarchists. I find anarchists hilarious, because anarchists will say that government is bad and you want to be controlled, right? But they assume that if you get rid of government that people will automatically just stop being corrupt. like that people are going to stop looking for power. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You go into jail and they fight over toothpicks and cigarettes. You go into the jungles and they fight over coconuts. It doesn't matter. Human beings are corrupt. You aren't acknowledging your own corruption within you. You're not acknowledging your own. You're blaming it on others. It's the ultimate form of victim mentality. They're doing it to you. You don't acknowledge your own power within you. You don't acknowledge that you are in fact everything, that all of the money or lack of money in the world resides in your soul. It's not out there. Their corruption is not out there. In fact, if you see a world where people are corrupt and money is bad and politics is bad, in fact, make a list. I'll give you a couple seconds. Make a list of all the things that are wrong in the world, okay? If you're watching it, pause the video, write down a list. Write a list of all the things that are actually wrong in the world and what people are doing. Governments are bad, economy's bad, destruction of the earth, whatever it is. All right, you got your list? Read all those things. All those things are inside of you. If you live in a world where the economic system is destroying the earth and humanity is trapped and animals are abused and earth is destroyed, guess who's doing it? You. Everything is your projection, including me. So if I'm here, it means there's a part of you inside of you that's wanting to wake you up, saying, come on, let's get out of the bullshit and let's wake up. Because otherwise you wouldn't have manifested me. I'll share the story of the shaman, the Hawaiian shaman, Haleakala Hugh Lin. You want to go look him up? He's a human being. You can find him. And he teaches or he practices a form of Hawaiian shamanism. And he was asked by an insane asylum in Hawaii. They asked him to come and help because they had heard this guy, as a psychologist, has this brilliant ability to heal people of incurable mental illness. And so he checked with himself and he realized that that was something that he wanted to do. So he went and did it. And he showed up and they sat them down and they started telling him, okay, this patient is so horrible, we have to chain him to a wall because he'll bite your ears off. This other person throws feces at everybody. And what can we do? We're treating them like animals because they're so dangerous. And he said, can you help us? And they said, can you help us? And he said, yes, I can help you. And they said, oh, great. When can you meet with the patients? And he says, oh, I'm not going to meet with them. So what do you mean? How are you supposed to treat them? He says, don't worry, that's my problem, not yours. I just want their charts. So what do you mean? I just want to give me an office and I'm going to look at their charts. I'm never going to meet them face to face ever. So they said, okay. And they give him a stack of charts. So he goes into his office and he opens up the chart and he starts reading about patient so-and-so who's chained to the wall and he throws feces, and then he closes it and he says this thing. He says, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And he goes on and he goes, oh my God. Every time he has an emotional reaction, a judgment about how horrible or how sad or how evil or how sick, whenever he has any kind of judgment about them, he then says, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And he's not doing it to them. It's because he knows that if he sees something in the world that is wrong or evil or bad, he knows that it's him, that his projection is actually creating that sick person. And so instead of going to talk to that person and try and help them, he changes the way he sees them. And he says, when I can get to the point where I see him as he is, which is perfect, then I know I've done my job. Then I close and I go on to the next file. Oh my God, she did that? Oh my God, that's so horrible. I love you, I'm sorry. And he did that with every patient. And lo and behold, all the patients start getting sane. In fact, they get so sane, they get released and they never do it ever again. Because it's not outside of you, it's inside of you. If you live in a world that has the economic system is destroying the earth because of whatever corruption, that's because that's you. You're judging that. You judge the economic system to be that way, and guess what? It's there because you judged it that way. And it comes back to you feel trapped. You feel abused. You feel destroyed. I'm just reading off from your sentence. You feel all those things about yourself, and instead of healing that within you, the I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, is you're loving yourself. I'm sorry that I've allowed myself to feel this way. I'm sorry that that happened to you. I'm sorry that you feel so disempowered. You're apologizing to your own soul because you're not seeing your soul as perfect. Because if you saw your soul as perfect, you'd see the world as perfect. So you're asking me about the block. The block is within you. Your judgments on what's wrong with the world that's you're creating it. Your toxic inner self-judgment, the damage you do to yourself, you see in the world. And then you have to talk about it. And you have to try and convince me that the economic system is destroying the earth and we're responsible to... I don't need to buy into that. That's your thing. Let's see what else. You say, I don't care about money, I care about the biodiversity. No, you do care about money, because if you didn't care about money, you wouldn't talk about the economic system destroying the earth. So you do care about money. I care about money. I like to be able to buy stuff. I don't care if it's with dollar bills or if it's with shells or if it's with a smile. I don't care what it is. I want to be able to have it so I can have what I want. How can you not care about resources? Money, this stuff here is a symbol for resources. It's with this stuff that I buy this stuff. I want this stuff. I need this stuff to get this stuff. This is resources. So if I don't have money and I live in a tribal system, then it's shells, or it's because I go and I do something for somebody. I offer value to people. I teach them all of this stuff here. They call me on the phone. I counsel them. That is valuable to them. So they give me resources in exchange for what I give to them. That won't change whether there's money or no money. You take money off the table, that's never going to change. What else? Bobby Simpson, you can't sustain your body with gold and silver. Watch me. Oh, that's so good. That sustains my body. I bought it with gold and silver. What else? Bobby Simpson, if you have a question, write the word question. I can't tell if this is an honest question or if you're being sarcastic. The shaman isn't narcissistic in believing his perception of reality changes it. That's an honest question. No. What is narcissistic about that? If you are one with everything, well, what the assumption in that is that the shaman thinks himself different than everybody else, and he doesn't. I mean, I've just shared with you that I believe that. I haven't yet got to that level of awareness where I can look at, maybe I have the ability and I don't know, but to look at somebody's chart and then fix my judgments and then they magically get healed. I haven't seen myself do that yet, but I am sharing, now that I think about it, I share this stuff here. So this is how I do it. And I click and I say, go on here to thunderwizard.com, subscribe, and then just click play and do these exercises along with me. And people have done it. And they're telling me that just by doing it, they're healing themselves. So maybe I have the same ability, I just do it differently. There's nothing narcissistic about that. You can do that too. So it's only narcissistic if the shaman says, I have a special ability, if I project onto the world, but everybody does it. Just becoming aware of it. So narcissism is when you think you're the only one, but he doesn't think that. He says everybody does it. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Honest feeling. Yesterday my cousin told me about her new boyfriend, and later that evening I felt sad. I asked myself why and realized it's because I don't have a girlfriend. That's really interesting. So you didn't feel that until your cousin told you. I've had a similar feeling, and maybe it's the same thing that you're experiencing. There have been times since I've been here, I've been in Australia for almost 2 years now, and there have been times when I felt really lonely. And then if I analyze it, I realize I'm really not that lonely. I actually feel like I'm a screw up because I don't have a wife right now. And when I go, wait a second, but I don't want a wife right now. And then when I realize what I want, I realize I want exactly what I have. I like living alone right now. I like living, doing exactly what, and it's the feeling of not being approved of by other people. That, oh, I don't look good to others because a 57-year-old man should have a beautiful wife with I'd be a good person if I had that. And then I realized that was about feelings about my mom loving me. So, but what's interesting is that you didn't feel bad until your cousin told you that she had a boyfriend. And so then you started thinking about it, and maybe you came to the conclusion, oh, I look bad because I don't have somebody that loves me. So it's not really that you don't have a girlfriend. Maybe it's that maybe you're worried about how people see you. What else? I also realized that this is my soul telling me what I want. Okay, so now you realize maybe you've been denying yourself a relationship because you don't feel worthy. Or maybe you're afraid a girlfriend will take you away from your mom, or I'm just throwing things out. I don't know. So this is what happens when you do the inner work. You find out what's going on within you, and then you change your reality. Vincent, question: what constructive actions can I take to get a girlfriend? Well, first, get comfortable with the idea of wanting it, and go through the judgment. I mean, I don't know. One of the things you can do with if you're doing your meditation ritual, at the end of the ritual, you can say, bring to me my perfect girlfriend in whatever form she is. That might be a human being you run into. It might be a new way of thinking. It might be a cat. I don't know. But you may not know exactly what it is that is going to fix that need. Right now you think it's a girlfriend, and maybe it is. So that's one thing. The other thing is, what do people do now? They go online. And go on to OkCupid or Plenty of Fish, or I don't know, Finding Shamans, or whatever the hell it is that but start asking the question, what does everybody else do to find girlfriends? What else? Question. Okay. Well, actually, my parents never taught me about relationships. Yeah. Usually, you find them in school, you find them at work, you go online. Start with that. Just start investigating. If you're clear internally about what you want, you'll figure out a way or you'll manifest a way to make it happen. But you have to be as committed to it as, I say, you have to be willing to die to get what you want. And, the way in which it manifests is really not all that important. What's important is that you're willing to do anything. When I've dated, I'm currently not, but when I've dated, I've used whatever it is, Plenty of Fish or OkCupid or whatever. And I went on hundreds of coffee dates, hundreds of them. And just one after the other until I found, and I did that, and I found the love of my life doing that. So you can do that. But I was willing to do whatever the hell it took, I'm going to do it. I'll go on as many coffee dates as I need to until I find somebody I want to date. What else? Question continued. I've never had one, and this is the first time in my life that I truly ready for a relationship. Yeah, so I think I answered your question. All right, so I think that's it for today. My apologies to Christina if I made you feel attacked. But you know, I've got a limited amount of time and I want to get to the truth as fast as possible, so I throw up that mirror. And I welcome all of you. Bobby Simpson, Christina, I invite you to watch more of my channel. I invite you to go check out thunderwizard.com. And for those of you that want to have the elite ability to have that lever to go directly to the lightning center of power in your heart so you can get that eternal power, that the most powerful energy in the universe I've ever experienced, go to maushan.thunderwizard.com. Check that out. All right, that's it. I will see you guys when I see you. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves.